All right, hello. How's it going? What's up, everybody? Oh, cool. I didn't even we have tons of people in chat. Hello, Keon Arknights. We love Israel. Gungo the Great. How's it going, you guys? Let me know, how is this audio? It sounds like it on this thing. It seems like it's kind of loud, but maybe it's pretty good. Hopefully, good audio. Okay, great. That's good to know. All right, yeah. I mean, I'm gonna get this started in a couple minutes. I have a good deal of comments from the community post that I made on YouTube. So I'm gonna get through those first. I have like, a couple random ones scattered from here and there, and then I'll start going through, if any of you guys in the chat have any questions, we'll get through those. And I don't know how the stream's necessarily gonna go, but depending on, how the conversation's going, what you guys want to do, we might react to a communist later on or something like that. So that would be pretty fun if we could go react to another commie. Can you answer my original questions in the post because I have limited time? You can ping the videos, ping roll if you want. I don't know how to ping them, but we love Israel. I will actually, if since it seems like you have limited time, I'll go ahead and answer your questions right now. And hello, ANCAP Brawny Sigma. So I'm gonna go just into this YouTube community post. Let me see. Um, I guess just here we go. Yeah, I will answer your question right now. Um, so, what are your thoughts on the Israel versus Palestine conflict? Quite honestly, I haven't thought about it all that much. I think it seems to be another kind of statist war, so it doesn't really seem to be anything out of the ordinary too much. So I'm definitely not siding with either Israel or Palestine. As far as I can tell, Israel seems to be the larger aggressor, but that certainly doesn't warrant um, aggressions on the part of Palestine. So, I mean, yeah, that's really all I have to say with that. Um, Thank you, Rion, and also thank you, Project ANCAP, for pinging that. Also, Project ANCAP, do you like Weston Smith, Turi Git, or Project ANCAP? Because you have a couple names. Um, Second question, where do you disagree on fellow true right-wing libertarian YouTubers, Mentis Wave, Tax Brass, Liquid Zulu? In terms of Mentis Wave, I disagree with him on Borders. In terms of Taxed Brass, I don't really know if there's a treatise of like all of his ideas anywhere. I know other YouTubers have made it more clear everything they believe. So maybe there would be some areas that I you know, disagree with Taxed Brass on, but I don't really know the full scope of his beliefs. Liquid Zulu, not really anything. I mean, maybe there's one random claim he made 3 years ago that I find problems with, but in terms of like large theoretical objections, I'm on board with pretty much everything I've heard him say. And yeah, I mean, and those are all of the big YouTubers you listed. If there's any more you're wondering about, I'll go answer that in a second. What do I think of Psychomath? I have no opinion on Psychomath, so if you want to let me know who that is, I can maybe give you one. Also, what's up, Credenter and Ouroboros? How's it going? Are you gonna respond to Lavender's video on Mantis Wave? Um, I don't think I will. Mostly just because it doesn't really seem to be a refutation of Mentis Wave, really. It seems to be just a greater explanation of the labor theory of value, which doesn't seem particularly necessary for me to watch because it's not really presenting the positive case for the labor theory of value. It's more just elucidating what it is. Lavender himself, I don't think actually believes in the labor theory of value. All right, I'll go with Project ANCAP then. Is Christianity and religion in general compatible with anarcho-capitalism in a philosophical sense? I would say if you just take anarcho-capitalism as a legal theory, which is what it is, then somewhat. Now, I'm not sure Christianity in particular. It might have some conflicting views. In fact, I'm almost certain it does. but maybe you could kind of warp the Ten Commandments into like a non-aggression principle kind of thing. But religion in general, it is indeed compatible with anarcho-capitalism. Like, a Kantian, for example, might try to make the argument that like, you can get the non-aggression principle from like the categories, or like, that the non-aggression principle is like your categorical imperative. Now, how you would establish that, I'm not sure. And do Kantians actually make this argument often? I don't really know. But my point is, you could try to reconcile God with anarcho-capitalism. Now, do I believe in God? No, but that doesn't mean that anarcho-capitalism can't be compatible with religion. But there you go. Yeah, so I'll just start from the top and go through all of these. We already got to We Love Israel. What are your thoughts on Javier Milei and what he's done with Argentina? I mean, I think overall Javier Milei has been extremely beneficial to Argentina and has been a bit of a vindication of everything we've been saying in terms of economics. And I think a lot of people misunderstand that, they see, Milei cuts all of this funding and stuff like that. And then, you'll see like, oh, you have all this poverty, like a spike in like, hungriness or something. It's like this completely agrees with our theory, right? We believe in, for the most part, we believe in, I don't want to speak for everyone, but I certainly believe in Austrian business cycle theory. And so really we're just seeing a vindication of everything we believe through Millet. But is he a true ANCAP? Not really. He's kind of a little bit more of like a standard libertarian conservative-ish kind of guy. But I mean, it's certainly a massive improvement from the previous socialism that Argentina had, and I think it stands to show that we can. It's a big white pill, right? We can enact major change in a short period of time on the level of millions of people in a country. Um, yeah. Could AGI obsolete the majority of human workforce? And if so, what would be the consequences? I'm not sure if AGI, what exactly that is, but if it's just AI, um, I think in terms of this, AI is very good at resolving scarcity and making things more efficient. So indeed, it could replace a lot of workers, but that's a good thing, right? So if it's replacing workers, now those workers are freed up to go work on higher order capital goods. And that's the process of civilization, right? Like you don't really see many people nowadays like you know, build like working on farms, right? Because mostly we just have a couple farmers and big machines handle most of the processing. Like no one has to really manually till the farms. We have all these tractors. And so that certainly displaced a lot of people, but now they're able to work in higher order kinds of things. So I think it's certainly very good that AI is replacing workers. So yeah, but the consequences essentially of that would be reducing scarcity more because, insofar as these workers are being replaced, if it's on a market and it's not like the state coming in and forcing them to be replaced, insofar as it's on a market, it's going to be to increase productivity and reduce scarcity. So that would be very good. That's a very good consequence. Here's your very important question. Am I gem or coal? I think you're certainly a gem because you're in my comment section. So, ANCAP of Brawny Sigma, gem. Will the AI overlords be kind? Um, well, I don't really think they'll have a choice because, if they're on the market and they're trying to, destroy people or something like that, I think they're going to be outcompeted pretty quickly. So, yeah, I think they will be pretty kind. The problem is that AI is supposed to replace the human intellect. I don't think it really can do that. I think it's just making certain tasks more efficient. Like the human mode of cognition is good at some things and it's not good at other things. We have a very useful conceptual faculty, but we're not good at, just storing 5 trillion specific data points. Like that's what concepts are. So to get a little more philosophical, like when I say the word tree, right? I'm not thinking of any specific tree, and neither are any of you. You're thinking of a sort of treeness out there. Abstract, and what you're doing is you're abstracting away from the particular variables of every tree and focusing on the similar kind of quantities that are being measured. And humans are very good at that, but we're not good at storing every single tree that we've ever seen, right? So if I go outside and I try to remember every tree that I saw when I walk around the park, it's going to be hopeless. So AI is extremely useful for doing specifically that, though, just storing an incredible amount of data and then if assessing that data very quickly, which is something humans aren't very good at. What are your thoughts on ecological psychology? I've heard of it a little bit, but unfortunately, I don't have enough knowledge of it to answer your question. So I don't want to dismiss your question. I just don't know enough about it to give you a satisfactory answer. How optimistic are you for the future of the movement, and what do you think should says can be done in Europe? Um, I'm pretty damn optimistic about the future of the movement. I mean, we were just talking about Argentina a little bit earlier, and I think that just kind of stands to show that you can enact these major changes extremely quickly if you have the correct philosophy in place. Like especially like look at like China and the special economic zones and whatnot. Like people are liberalizing, and it's vindicating everything we've been saying. So I think it's certainly there is certainly hope. And what can be done in Europe, I think the same thing that's being done in all these other places. Spread the correct philosophy and get it to the point where people demand freedom, right? People should be wanting freedom is really what we need to do. We need to spread a freedom-loving philosophy. Pistachio Proto says, "Can you operate a grill?" I can indeed operate a grill. I think I'm pretty good at it. Um, what's it called? Okay, how you came to be an ANCAP and what related books have you read? I came to be an ANCAP essentially just from you know, I was around like general, kind of free market spheres, but not like, just general like, oh, I'm a conservative, but I like the free market. And then, eventually I started getting more curious and I looked more into the theory and I heard the libertarian arguments, like some of the milquetoast ones that are just like, government's less efficient, which is certainly true, but it's not like a revolutionary argument. And then from there I just started, you know, learning more about the theory. What related books have I read? I mean, yeah, I've read a decent amount just on Rothbard and Hoppe, like, Anatomy of the State, Theory of Socialism and Capitalism, Ethics of Liberty. Um, this isn't necessarily an ANCAP book, but I think Objectivism, the Philosophy of Ayn Rand, is a very good book to read to kind of help ground our philosophy and other things. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't really have a particularly revolutionary ANCAP, coming of age story. It's more just, I've been in the sphere for a long time, and I've just slowly become I mean, I've been an ANCAP for a while now, but before I was just slowly learning more of the arguments and figuring it out. And yeah, there you go. You're very black-pilled on Europe. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I truly wish any European libertarians the best, but I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say. It does seem like a very bad situation there right now, but I wouldn't take the full black pill. My boy can operate a grill. The movement saved. Yeah, I'm a big griller. I love to grill. Um, all right. How can Iranians achieve liberation? Well, I'm not sure exactly what the specific contention here is about how they wouldn't, but generally speaking, any group of people can achieve liberation by spreading and adopting the correct philosophy. So I suspect right now Iranians probably have a very totalitarian philosophy that's telling them someone needs to be in charge, right? And I think they need to rid themselves of that notion and embrace anarchy. And I guess that's kind of a pretty you know, not revolutionary response. It's like, oh, they can achieve liberation by, being smarter. But it's like, I mean, truly, if you adopt the correct philosophy, I do believe that they would be able to liberate themselves. When will World War III drop? Hopefully, no time soon. But with the track record that states are on, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw another big war. Although I will say, again, I'm kind of white pilled at the same time. It's like, maybe the people will want liberty and won't accept that. So I hope never. Are you OPSEC GQT? I have no clue what that means. So if anyone wants to let me know what that means in the comments or if this person is here, um yeah, feel free to let me know what that means. Um Favorite drugs? Well, I don't take any drugs, and I'd highly recommend that none of the viewers in the stream take any drugs, but I think, weed seems to be, I mean, at least it has some medical purposes, so there you go. The definition of AGI is it's an AI that can think like a human. If AGI is reached, it can perform all tasks a human can, and perhaps concept formation as well. I mean, if we can create AGI, then we've just created an entirely new just life form. If it's truly forming concepts and whatnot, and it has like free will. So in that case, I mean, I wouldn't be too concerned about it because that's just you know, I would assume that this AI would probably be pretty rational, considering it's an AI, and we could trade with it, and it could help us produce more. Sometimes Europe is far gone that I've forced myself to not talk politics with my peers most of the time. I don't blame you. OPSEC, yeah, everyone's talking about OPSEC. God, I don't know what that means. So, yeah, sorry guys. Um, what would you say the most foundational books for getting into anarcho-capitalism are? Yeah, just Anatomy of the State is definitely you want to read Anatomy of the State. I think A Theory of Socialism and Capitalism is good. Ethics of Liberty is good. So a lot of stuff like that is just the most foundational stuff. And if you want to get into anarcho-capitalism, another thing I'd recommend is like aside from just reading more, just be in the sphere. If you're genuinely interested in it and you want to learn more, if you're just in this sphere interacting with people and watching content and whatnot, like you'll learn a ton of stuff. So it seems like I've gotten through all of these Q&A comments. AGI can never have free will. No neural network ever can. Yeah, I certainly agree with Project ANCAP in that the way that they're constructed right now, which is just a bunch of, matrix multiplications, I don't think that has the potential for free will. Although, you could have maybe a new kind of, you know, um, construction of consciousness. I don't know exactly how consciousness comes to being. I think from what I can tell, it's, you have a specific organization of factors and contents of reality, and that comes together to form consciousness. And I don't know what that exact organization is, but maybe we could recreate that at some point, but not with matrix multiplications, I don't think. I think I might have had like a question or two from Twitter. Oh yes, Zafari asked, this is from Twitter, so I don't have it right here, but I'll read it out to you. Safari asks, "What kind of games do you play? Like multiplayer, single player, shooter, RPG, etc.? I'm gonna assume you use Steam." I don't really use Steam much, actually. I'm more of I have a PS5 and an Xbox, but I play single player and multiplayer, but I've been playing more like just single player chill games now. I play a hunting game called The Hunter Call of the Wild, and every once in a while I'll play some Call of Duty or something like that. But I don't really I don't play too many video games anymore. I don't really have enough time for that, unfortunately. But I did play a lot. I played a lot of video games in the past. I played some Minecraft. So yeah. What state do you live in? Well, thank you for the question. I'm not going to answer that for trying to keep my anonymity, but I live in America, as you can certainly tell. Do you think federationalism is a better way to market liberalization than capitalism? Well, I don't. Oh, federationalism. I don't know exactly what that would entail, but I think the best way to achieve capitalism is spreading the philosophy of capitalism. Right. I don't think we're gonna achieve capitalism unless people are actually convinced of being capitalists. Um, but yeah, I've gotten through all of the questions that I was just randomly asked. I not randomly. I was asked on this thing. So if you guys have any questions in the chat, then we can start doing that. You recommend Metal Gear series and Monster Hunter. I can look into it. Those are yeah, I think they're both single player. Um, Open Objectivist says, but I'm both. To oh god, I don't know where this conversation's coming from. Well, yeah, but like I said, if you guys have any questions that you'd like to ask, if you sent a question already and I didn't see it, feel free to just resend it. That's fine. I don't mind. But yeah, I'll just get into that. Here, I guess I'll do this. I'll write them down. I prepared this document. So what is stopping someone from being stopped multiple times in effect, making them pay retribution multiple times? Well, I think if someone commits an aggression, um, multiple times. Also, I don't think it's worth writing these down. Actually, it's going to take too much time. I think if someone commits, like let's say three aggressions and three separate aggressions, and then first time someone gets retribution, second time someone gets retribution. You can certainly have retribution multiple times. Now, you wouldn't be able to have like two retributions for one aggression, because that would be unjustifiable. Because I don't, you couldn't make an argument that this person would be stopped when they claim to object to some sort of force being used against them two times, right? They wouldn't be stopped in saying that. They would be stopped if they objected one time, but not two times. What do you think of the Acadian community as an anarcho-capitalist example? I unfortunately don't know anything about the Acadian community. Um, yeah, I mean, yeah, if you want to tell me or point me to some resources that would help me know about it. But I can say just generally speaking, if they were, close to like Iceland, then it was probably pretty anarchist. So yeah, I mean yeah, that's about all I have to say. I'm not much of a historian though. Oh, reload the page. Okay. Yeah, actually, how about instead of you guys, mm, yeah, no, you guys can do whatever. Put it in the chat or put it here. Um, Here's a hypothetical. If you have someone on your plane, could you exclude them by throwing them out while it's still in flight? If not, why? Um, I think if it's, the gentleness principle, right? If that's, assuming you don't want them on your plane, and that's the only way to get them off your plane, then that's your right to do it. I mean, it's not your responsibility to provide someone with an out, right? They came on your plane without your consent. It's not your responsibility to like bail them out, right? So if you're on a ship, for example, go throw them overboard. You don't have to give them a life raft. It's not their property. So certainly I think you can throw them off. Um Ender Detective says, "What videos do you have planned?" I think personally, I'm working on here, I'll give you a little spoiler. Um let's see if I can find it. I'm working on this video at some point. So this will be a cool video. And at some point much later down the road, maybe we can find this. I don't know where it went. Um, where is my thing? Well, it's over here. I'm working on this. So I want to do a video on the history of philosophy, lecture series. I want to do a series of videos on objectivism, but I also want to keep doing videos on just anarcho-capitalism in general. So I'll say, yeah, I'm just I have a list of like potential videos I can do, and whenever I'm, trying to make a video, I just go through them and be like, hey, this sounds interesting to me right now. I'm gonna go make a script for this. I don't plan it out too much in advance. Should I make content on econ? I love libertarianism. You absolutely should. I completely recommend that you do it. Um, all right, let's see. We have a couple more questions there. Excuse, I'm just gonna get some water. What do you think of other anarchist variants like anarcho-mutualism, anarcho-communism, etc.? I think a lot of them I don't know, they almost seem like not really very anarchist to me because in my conception of anarchy, it's a rejection of legal authoritarianism. But I think a lot of the time it almost seems like something like anarcho-communism almost entails some sort of legal authoritarianism. It's like whatever the collective says goes. Was Zulu planning to make a video on the history of philosophy? External celestial chambers? But yeah, I mean, yeah, in general, on other anarchist variants, I think a lot of them are kind of nothing burgers, but yeah. Um You were on a call for almost 9 hours straight. I believed it was the 5 hour mark when Floppa showed up, and we talked about the things, including the plane example. Yeah, I think the plane example is a good thing for people to understand. It's like it's not your responsibility to provide people an out, right? If they come on your property and you want to exclude them, you have every right to go exclude them with the means you have, you know? Oh, he was going to do a video on the history of philosophy. Oh, okay. Maybe I won't do one though. I haven't really put any time into it yet because I don't think it's really necessary if we both do one. Um, where's my YouTube icon from? I just made it on MS Paint, pretty much. Um, yeah, I don't know why I wanted to do a sailboat, but I don't know. Yeah, that's just what I wanted to do. No real particular reason. It's just, yeah. Um, is global warming just destroying Europe through forest fires? Probably not. I don't think global warming plays. I certainly suspect that it is, it's a thing. I'm not denying its existence, but I don't think it's catastrophic. I think excuse me. Um, I think it's certainly a very, you know, almost a good thing in some areas. I don't need to. Am I actively participating in politics or am I more of an agorist? I'm not an agorist. I don't think it's a good idea to go, um, behind the state because I don't want to be thrown in a cage for the rest of my life. Obviously, you know, um, I don't agree with the state law, but I don't think you should really violate it because they're going to throw you in a cage. So, but I mean, I think my YouTube channel is actively participating in some sort of politics. Do we need property rights for space? Earth's orbits are getting kind of crowded. I think, yeah, you could probably establish some sort of property rights system for that. I don't know how you'd border it, but, I think you could, probably figure out a way with, implementing some sort of new technology. While I do agree with the point of anarcho-communism, it doesn't make sense because it's inherently coercive. I believe anarcho-mutualism is a very interesting philosophy. I'm not exactly sure what anarcho-mutualism entails, but, yeah. All right, we have some more questions from We Love Israel, and it's not letting me read them. Is Mentis Wave your father? Yep. I'm actually Mentis Wave's secret child, and he's been indoctrinating me with libertarianism ever since, and I'm recording from Mentis Wave's basement right now. He has a gun to my head, and he's forcing me to make this content. So I hope he doesn't shoot me for saying that. Is Hoppa secretly your granddad? Indeed. Also, Hoppa is Mentis Wave's father, and yeah. Why is your name Econ? No real reason. I'm an anarchist and I like econ. I also like philosophy, but anarcho-philosophy doesn't sound good in my opinion, so I just left it with anarcho-econ. Let's see some. Favorite color? My favorite color is probably blue. Um, how do you think libertarians would best influence society and create positive change? I think we should, generally follow the remnant strategy and continue having correct and philosophically consistent arguments and convincing the people who matter. Like, I don't think we should be pandering to the normies, essentially. Um, cool video idea would be make a history of economics, which would lead to Austrian school. Um, I think that's a little bit out of my scope of, where I make videos, mostly because that's more of like a historical thing, and I try to focus more on like the theoretical side of things. History is certainly interesting, but it's not really my strong spot. Do I have a Discord server? I don't have a Discord server, but I could create one if enough people show interest, since it is free. But yeah, I mean, um, was gonna ask how I became an anarcho-capitalist. Guess it got answered. Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, I've been one for a couple of years now, but prior, I was in generally kind of libertarian areas, and I just started acclimatizing to more of the arguments and understanding them better. And internalizing them and figuring out, okay, this argument relies on this, so what about this? And like digging deeper and whatnot. Um, you think you might have missed my previous message in this chat? If you're willing to check, I'd appreciate it. I can. Um, You think it would be great if you two had a conversation about it. Floppa is very curious and asking all the right questions. If that was your question, then yeah, sure, I could certainly talk to him. I've been, corresponding with him a little bit and whatnot, and we were on Ask ANCAP together, but maybe we'll collaborate again in the future. So I think, there's many productive conversations to have. You would be very interested in a Discord. Well, you know what? Maybe I can look into that. Yeah, maybe I can. Use XMPP. It's freer than Discord. It does seem to me that most people just prefer Discord. So if I was going to make some sort of server, then I would probably make a Discord server just because, that's probably how we're going to get the most people in there and talking and whatnot. So, what were my political opinions before I became an ANCAP? I was more of like I don't know. I think I just kind of knew there was something wrong with the left. Like I wasn't I I remember I wasn't a big fan of like the feminists. Like I used to watch like those videos that would like make fun of like the far left like Marxist feminist people. I didn't have any like philosophical critiques of them, but I knew I didn't like them, and so I was more of just like a standard like conservative-ish kind of person, but thankfully I've escaped that. He seems to be really into reading and learning. I believe he's truly trying to get into ANCAP, which is great. Yeah, I was talking to him earlier, and um, he was asking a lot of questions to me and Zulu and Galazar. So yeah, he's definitely really interested in this. I think it's really great. I'll reload this page again. Couple more. Um, mm-mm, let's see. Am I Chinese? Yeah, I'm Chinese actually. Have I ever tasted Soylent? No, I haven't tasted Soylent. I don't intend on. Can your prices compete with Chinese slave labor? What should the factory workers in the West do when they lose their jobs through globalization? Well, I think globalization is very good because it's just freeing up labor that isn't necessary. So I think the more trade we have, the better, right? If these factory workers in the West are freed up, because there's more production going on and more trade going on with China, so their labor isn't needed there anymore. Then if we had a free market, then these workers would be able to transition into producing higher order capital goods. Now, whether or not we actually see that, um, I don't think that's a refutation of what I'm saying, because right now we live in a heavily regulated society wherein the state makes it very challenging for people to transition into higher order capital production with all their regulations. So I think what we see now isn't an accurate representation kind of how that process would go. And like Ender Detective said, such slave labor is inefficient. But if generally, um, you just mean like, what do we do if there's like a bunch of cheap laborers? Then that's what my response was. Um, it would be great if the libertarian movement some spread pamphlets or flyers with quick to the point critiques of the state, like the amount of taxes paid for a car or something. Yeah, I think stuff like Anatomy of the State's really good because it's very short and concise, but it makes its point very clearly. You can't really exclude someone from your plane mid-flight if you invited them or they. Yeah, I think if you invited them, it's a little bit different. That would almost be like, hey, you can come into my house, and then you go shoot them in your head. It's because it's like, oh, you were on my property. It's like that's a different kind of situation. But if we're just generally talking like, let's say they like snuck onto your plane, and then like you got into midair, and they're like a crook and they're trying to rob the plane, then I think just push them off. Am I religious? No, I'm not religious. Am I familiar with Tick History's videos? I am relatively familiar with them. Yeah, I think they seem to be pretty good. Pretty pretty knowledge spreading. Do Gentiles have souls? No one has a soul. Do bacterias have souls? Um, well, I mean, there you go. I don't know what you specifically mean by Gentiles. I don't think bacteria have souls. I'm not really I'm not sure really what a soul even would be. If you mean like a consciousness, well, every person has a consciousness, but I don't know about bacteria really. Bacteria, I don't even know if they can um have percepts or even sensations. Maybe I'm not a scientist, so maybe bacteria do have sensations, like, and they're actually perceiving these sensations, but I'm not really sure. What's up, Raptionus? Greetings. What do you think of people's assemblies and councils as a method of organizing in a both pre-ANCAP society and to achieve ANCAP? I think it's a very good thing if people are, a bunch of anarchists are coming together and meeting each other and working together. I think, it's a lot of anarchist unity is very useful. Um, are you aware of libertarian movements around the globe? I mean, not like that much. I mean, I'm aware of what's going on in like the United States. Like for example, I know about what's it called, like the Liberty kind of area in New Hampshire. What's it called? New Hampshire Libertarian Society. What are my opinions on NRX slash Moldbug? I mean, he's not an anarchist, but he's kind of on the right path, I guess. Um, okay, we have what's your take on Zulu's opinion on colonization, where we should celebrate it for its virtues and criticize it for the vices? Yeah, I mean, on Ask, if you're talking specifically about what he said on Ask ANCAP, which is, it seems to be like, I think it's very good. Colonization is, or colonialism or whatever, is some of the best things that happen to these colonized countries. Certainly, without a shadow of a doubt. Now, was there horrible things that happened? Yes. And are those things bad? Yes. But excuse me, like Zulu said, really what it is it's exporting capitalism, and spreading the capitalist method around, like spreading the method of trade around. So I think that's, yeah, I'm a big fan of that. Um, I think it's complete bullshit when people say like, oh, colonization ruined this random African country. It's like, if it ruined this country, why was it so incredibly poor before? How did they even get colonized, right? It's like, it was certainly good. Shalom from a fellow libertarian. When did you want to become an ANCAP? Well, yeah, I've been an ANCAP for a pretty good amount of time now, but before I was an ANCAP, I was, just in a lot of kind of libertarian-esque spheres, and I started resonating with a lot of the arguments and whatnot, and a lot of the conclusions, and so I just started. I learned more about it and dove into a lot of online content and books and whatnot, and there we go. Um, some bacteria are smarter than me, says Plus Ultra. Um, well, I don't want to, shame you, but maybe. You never know. Um, let's see. Says there's a new one. How you came to be an ANCAP and what related. Oh, I think no, I already read that one. I said that one, I think. Um, oh, how can one detect being a LARPer of anarcho-capitalism? I guess maybe I don't know how many ANCAP LARPers there really are, but if I were to say something, I'd say like if they try to portray themselves as like an established ANCAP, and they don't understand like the non-aggression principle, or excuse me, if just in general an ANCAP doesn't know what the non-aggression principle means, then I think that's a pretty good sign. Like that's like the first day one stuff. But a lot of people just skip past that and they want to just criticize our conclusions without understanding our philosophical basis. So they don't really understand what the non-aggression principle is. Oh, I should sort through the comments from newest. I forgot I could do that. All right, I'll respond to that too. One thing. This is so real though. Colonized countries are poor before, had some growth, and 99% of them immediately crashed and died after. Yeah, pretty much. Favorite movie? I'm a big fan of like The Lord of the Rings, honestly. Um, so any one of those. Um, let's see. If the goal is to spread libertarianism through philosophy, then could we use art as a tool of spreading our ideas? Certainly, yeah. I mean, if you want to make pro-liberty kind of art, I don't know. I don't really make that. I actually do make some art, but it's not really that style of art. So I don't know exactly how you would portray the philosophy of libertarianism with art. But if you would want to do that, I think that would be a very good idea. Um, one of the best ways of outing these LARPers is they don't understand ANCAP isn't. Yeah, I mean that's very true. All right. Do you think lesser developed countries should have anarcho-capitalism, having little to no state, or should they try to protect domestic industries using the state like South Korea did? I think they should certainly have anarcho-capitalism, and to the extent that they have anarcho-capitalism, they will transition from being a lesser developed country into being a very developed country quite quickly if they're, actually consistent practices or practitioners or however you'd say that of the philosophy. So they should certainly have anarcho-capitalism. Everyone should have anarcho-capitalism. Yeah, they'll do very well if they adopt it. Did you ever say slash write the N-word? No, I try not to because uh I'm not one of the people who really cares very much, but I don't want to give anyone any ammunition to like fire at me. And I also I don't think it's very good optics. So um, what do you think of anarchist Makonist Ukraine? I I could not tell you. I'm sorry. I wish I knew. Um, um, Practitioner, indeed. That is the correct word I should have said. Um, oh, I have to do this every time. How many legal guns do I own? Zero, unfortunately, but hopefully I can get some guns soon. I would like, I plan on owning many guns, but the state I live in, there's a lot of gun laws, and they don't want me to have them, so that's very unfortunate. Mm. All right. Yeah, it's going well though. Thank you guys for asking so many questions. It's we got some nice questions coming in. I like how it's a mix of ANCAP stuff and excuse me, ANCAP stuff and just more generally like personal questions and opinions. I think that's what I wanted this to be. Um, do you agree with Zulu that Dave Smith is not a force for good for the movement overall? I mean, yeah, I think the Anatomy of Celebritarian video does a very good job at explaining um why Dave Smith's approach isn't the correct one, right? He's as Zulu says, he's counter signaling the radicals. He's kind of pointing people at us and telling them to laugh at us, even though we're the backbone of the entire movement, and he only can exist insofar as we're pumping out philosophy and arguments for him to be making. So, yeah, do you work out? Yeah, I do. I think it's very good. Everyone should work out, um, stay healthy, um, and whatnot, yeah. Um, Yeah, like to uh Creditor says an example of why privatization is good. If movies were nationalized, it would obviously be state propaganda. So why do state monopolies and propaganda stop on movies? Um, I'm not exactly sure what you're responding to, but I definitely agree that it would be certainly it would just be state propaganda, and that's what we actually see with a lot of pretty much everything publicly funded is it just eventually devolves into some sort of state propaganda. You know, it, that's That's definitely very bad. Um, can one way of solving conflict be we take turns of using the stick? Well, that is certainly one way of solving conflict, but is it the correct way of solving conflicts? My answer is no, but it is a way of solving conflicts. Like your legal code could be any time that there's a conflict, people need to share. That doesn't seem like a very explicit or useful legal code, but you could try to implement it. Should there be anarcho-fed? I don't really know what that means. Excuse me. Do you plan to post articles? Yeah, if I have actually been thinking about one particular issue, which is in the field of retribution, where it's retribution is a scarce right that's established from estoppel, and the common consensus is that the right goes to the victim, and I agree with that. but I couldn't find a satisfactory defense of it. So I've been kind of trying to formulate my own. I don't have a full article or anything, but I have some ideas that I could maybe like. So if again, essentially what I'm saying is, if I come up with ideas that I think are worthwhile or I think are useful for sharing in the sphere, then I think it'll be yeah, definitely. Is it even a conflict if they all agree? Conflict is when they don't agree. I think, well, selfish, I think you could have a conflict and then the legal codes could say you guys have to share to resolve this conflict. But if the initial state is that everyone agrees, then there isn't a conflict. But I think it's maybe more like these two people disagree on how to use this, and now the natural law apparently says that they have to share. Um, Considering you're an American, what's your thoughts on the Articles of Confederation? They seem to be a lot better than the Constitution to me. At least, I haven't fully read through them or anything. I haven't read the Constitution either, but the Articles of Confederation seem to be much better than the Constitution. And I actually remember I was taking a history class in my public school when I was in high school, and they specifically told me we said this a second ago, but every time something's funded, it turns state funded, it turns into state propaganda, and that's specifically they told me the Articles of Confederation failed because they didn't grant enough power to the government. Um, yeah, so that's literally what I was told by my state funded teacher that the Articles of Confederation failed because the government just needs more power. And so he was certainly a Hamiltonian in that respect, and he believed that the Constitution gives the government, implied powers. Now, I think that's complete nonsense. Not that I think rights come from the Constitution, but even if we say that rights do come from the Constitution, how on earth you could philosophically distinguish between an implied power and a not implied power is beyond me. So I think it's completely nonsense. Libertarianism certainly misses a theory of political praxis that would lay out principles of moving towards a freer society. I mean, if you want to elucidate what you think these specific political um, praxis is that we're missing, then yeah, maybe we can talk about that. Because if you have a insight into how libertarian theory, I mean, could be spread better, then certainly share it. Um, all right, another one over here. All right. Do you take measures to keep yourself safe online? Examples would be using VPNs, not posting your face online, using cryptocurrencies for anonymity, using different names for different platforms, that sort of stuff. That's what I meant about your being OPSEC God. People do go as far as to say using operating systems that prioritize anonymity or writing in different styles across platforms if they're paired. Yeah, so I mean, I don't post my face online. I don't use cryptocurrencies, or anything like that. I normally just trade stocks, but um. I also don't want to pay for a VPN, so I guess you could say I should be keeping myself safer online. China definitely has my data right now, but that's okay. I mean, I kind of like that they send me ads that correspond to the things I like, so it's not really that big of a deal. But yeah, I should probably have some sort of VPN. But I do agree, don't put your face online unless you have like a good reason to. It's just not a good idea. Um, I I live in an area where I suspect that I could get some harassment for some of my beliefs. So I don't intend on showing my face. Um, how would libertarianism handle bad drivers? Well, just by excluding them from the roads. I mean, certainly there would probably still be, car crashes and whatnot. But, if someone, say, oh, before you want like a permit to drive on my road, you have to prove to me that aren't a bad driver. And if they are a bad driver, just don't let them on your road. Um, it's a legal theory. Praxis is covered more by objectivism/remnant strategy. Yeah, I agree with that. Who of the presidents do you know was the best president of the USA? As far as I can tell, I think Calvin Coolidge seems to be one of the best presidents. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, seriously, I don't mind, anyone who, corrects me if I'm wrong here, but I think, there was a financial collapse in, yeah, Calvin Coolidge's term in the early 1920s, and he just didn't do anything and vindicated our theory. OPSEC God opens Google Docs. Yeah, I mean, I here you go. Here's my Google Docs. If you guys can find a way to steal my information with this, maybe you can. I don't know, but yeah, I would appreciate it if you didn't, if you could. Do you hate the roads? Well, I like the roads quite a bit, but yeah. Do you live with Mantis in Portland? Oh, also Hoppa Posting says hello. Hello, Hoppa Posting. How's it going? Do you live with Mantis in Portland? So I'm not surprised. Yeah, you don't. Oh yeah, I mean, as I revealed earlier in the stream, I do actually live in Mantis Wave's basement, and I'm his child, and yeah, he's forcing me to make this. So yeah, yeah, Coolidge was very principled. It was very good. I think he seemed maybe he's not the only president who had an economic understanding of how things work, but he was at least one of the only presidents who was actually willing to act on that. Where's the car crash? Is it on the car or is it on the wall? Okay. I mean, I'm not sure what other kind of answer you'd be looking for, Thanalingo. I mean, I think if you have like these really reckless drivers who are just known for being like really bad at driving, just don't let them on the roads. It's a private road, just exclude them. And if someone's, I'm sure, if some car crashes happen, shit happens. And I think, there'd be some leeway, right? It wouldn't be profitable to exclude literally every person. But yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be road to road, but city to city, and interstates would be very scarce IMO. Um, I'm not exactly sure what you are meaning by that. Um, favorite TV show? I'm a big fan of Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad. It's definitely good stuff. I like those a lot. Um, when will you tell everyone about the incident of '99? I know what you did. Um, I'm gonna pretend like I know what you're talking about, and yeah, I'll tell people soon. What do you think about Mantis Wave's theory of gradualism? Um, well, it seems that Blue Owl says Mantis isn't a gradualist. So I don't maybe he is, maybe not, but I'll answer on gradualism as such. I mean, if we're looking at how things would actually play out in reality, there probably would be maybe a bit of gradual societal change, you could argue potentially. But I don't think that the fundamental thing is looking for gradual change in policy. I think the fundamental thing is convincing the remnant of the philosophy and then you know building up a philosophical movement from there. So I don't think the primary should be gradually reducing the state. I think that will happen or rapidly reducing the state. I think that will happen from the remnant strategy. Would you call Saul Goodman if you're in legal trouble? Well, I quite like the fact that Saul Goodman doesn't care much about what the state has to say. So I think I would. He seems to be a good lawyer, and he really doesn't really care that the state says it's not okay. So I think he's cool. Um, what do you think of Hoppian anarcho-monarchism? Yes, that's a real belief. I don't. I think anarcho-monarchism is a contradiction in terms, so I believe it can't be true. But I mean, if you essentially just mean a bunch of small monarchies, I think it's better than what we have now. Would you agree with Kinsella that retribution doesn't have to be the same as the crime as long as it's roughly equivalent in severity? Um, this is a pretty tough one to answer. I kind of tend to believe that it does have to be a bit of an eye for an eye, but let's take this is an interesting scenario that I've been thinking about recently, and I'll give you my answer on it. And if anyone, seriously, if anyone wants to give their answer that differs from mine, feel free. But let's take a rape, right? Let's say a man rapes a woman. Um, Now, this isn't the same as okay. Well, let's establish a few things first, so you can see what I'm trying to say here. If a man rapes a woman, right, what's the corresponding retribution justified? By estoppel, it's a rape of the rapist, right? Rape the rapist. But a man raping a woman isn't necessarily the same as like a man raping another man, right? Like the difference in power between a man and a woman, this kind of the amount of force being used and whatnot, it's very damning, and that's why rape is one of the reasons it's so evil and horrible is because it's just so violating for the woman, typically the woman who's being raped. So I think you wouldn't necessarily just have to have a rape to the man, like as retribution of the same degree. I think you could kind of simulate the same kind of power imbalance. So let's say like a regular guy rapes a woman. I think the retribution for that wouldn't necessarily have to be a regular guy rapes him back. I think it could be like you get a massive 8 foot tall, 350 pounds pure muscle guy rape this rapist and just completely just destroy him essentially. I think that would be the corresponding retribution because I think that would better simulate this sort of power imbalance better. So I think the punishment has to be an eye for an eye, but I think you can take in factors such as like, the specific nature of the crime and the specific way it was committed. Like for example, if you take let's say you have a punching. Someone punches another person. Of course the corresponding retribution is a punch back. But, is can it be any punch? For example, could the retribution be punching this person? Like, could I get a professional boxer to punch this person so hard that they die? Well, certainly not, right? So we have to take into consideration sort of the nature of the crime and how it was committed. But I do think it does have to be an eye for an eye. So I don't think if you had a rapist, I think in Kinsella's paper he might say this. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it was something like this. I don't think you could justify like cutting the rapist's dick off or something like that. I think that's a whole new thing and estoppel wouldn't apply to it. But I certainly do think that you could completely just completely just get a massive 8 foot tall professional rapist to come in and destroy the aggressor and just ruin his life. And then of course, on top of that, if you're unhappy with that alone, I assure you that these all of these rapists, even after their entire life has been ruined by this retribution, they're going to be kicked out of society and completely just destroyed. So I mean, that's pretty much my answer with that. So yes, I think it has to be an eye for an eye, but that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be the exact same thing. Um, all right, I'm gonna go back as that was a little bit of a long wind, but um, okay, is corruption always bad? And yes, if corruption means aggression, then yes, aggression's always illicit. Um, but I mean, it depends on what you mean by corruption. So if you'd want to elaborate on that, then yeah. Will Peter Thiel and Palantir create the operating system for the PDAs of Ancapistan? Probably not. I suspect they're pretty, Peter Thiel and whatnot, Palantir, they're very like government backed, and so they're probably pretty centrally planned. And I think a free market firm would come and outcompete them in Ancapistan. Do you think that the Free State Project is a good strategy for achieving anarcho-capitalism? I think it's a very good idea to get libertarians together and corresponding. The only thing I'd be worried about is if they start succeeding, which they certainly will, that the state will come in and crush them. And that's the kind of problem you get if you don't change the philosophy overall. But I certainly think it's a step forwards. I don't know what libertarian phalangism is, I'm sorry. If someone spent work on creating an idea, does the person deserve compensation from that idea? You could argue that they might deserve compensation, but if we're talking about a legal right to compensation, no. They don't have a legal right. But you could argue it's a good idea to maybe support them, to cite them. I agree that you should certainly cite people. That's a good idea. Anarcho-monarchism is basically a CEO is a monarch, so not a contradiction, but a silly name. Well, then I think it's a anarcho-monarchism terms from being a contradiction in terms to being a very good idea then. Um, all right, getting a stronger guy because yeah, I mean pretty much what Selfish said to sum up what I said. Um, I believe retribution is a post factum act, as a post factum act should not be applied when we should settle an argument with aggressor in court publicly so the other people in society can ostracize that person if needed. I think it's a good idea if you get your retribution and you kick them out, right? If you have this horrible criminal, um, I don't think the purpose of justice is you know, uh, fixing people, right? I don't think that's the purpose. I think the purpose of justice is to make the victim whole again. And so I think get your retribution and kick them out of society. Now, should you do this on a vigilante basis? You could. But I do agree with you that it's better if, you have a sort of court hearing, prove that this actually is the aggressor, and then go get your retribution. So it doesn't just look like you're coming up and like, punching someone for no reason. And prove that it's actually, show to people that you actually have the right to do this. Professional rapist was a term I did not have on your list for 2026. Yeah, I mean, it's something that there might be in Ancapistan, though. I mean, someone needs to give the rapists their retribution. because I certainly don't think that the woman would want to be doing that. Um, since corruption in government can break the rules of the government, it's good as long as it doesn't interfere in natural law. Uh, yeah, I mean, generally. What would you do if you were Walter White and just got cancer like in the series? Well, he's like 50 or something like that. I would maybe try to, I mean, Walter White was refusing all the handouts from Gretchen and Elliot, so I'd maybe try to get some money from them, instead of selling drugs. I mean, I think he certainly could have gotten some money from them. That wouldn't be very entertaining, though. Do you think anarcho-capitalism can be revolutionary? I heard some guy calling himself a revolutionary ANCAP. Well, revolutionary means like taking over everything and murdering a bunch of people to establish yourself, then I don't think that's an anarchist movement because that's clearly a rejection of the non-aggression principle. Um, but I mean, if you just mean like, I mean, some revolutions are just like a very quick takeover. It doesn't necessarily involve a lot of violence and whatnot. Do I have any friends or acquaintances who work as police officers, soldiers, or in similar roles? Would you consider them immoral because they work for the state? No, I don't actually have any friends who do that. But yeah, I do think they are pretty immoral, especially like police officers. They're definitely like agents of the state. They're agents of state violence essentially. And soldiers, I mean, are often even worse. At least most of the time, the soldiers are just kind of kept in like a barn and they don't really do anything. But when they actually are deployed, they're even worse than police officers. Now, some soldiers, I will say, like Tax Brass, for example, I think is he's in the military, but he signed a contract. And the state will essentially just put him in a cage for the rest of his life if he violates it. And he signed this contract before he realized essentially the horrors of what they're doing. So I think some soldiers might n- be not enjoying this really. Um, I mean, a revolutionary cause is the violation of a lot of innocent. Yeah, I think that's pretty much what I agree with. Yeah, I mean, uh, Creditor, you should be confused about that. It's a pretty contradictory position. I think most ANCAPs are not revolutionists. Um, big white cock or big black cock? Um, I'll take big white cock for now, but I could be convinced the other way around. Yeah, many soldiers are drafted, and that's, certainly not a moral failure on their part. So that's just, you know, how showing how horrible the state is. Um, what is the easiest way to tell a regular guy about ANCAP? I mean, I think, I think generally it depends on like I would say gauge the situation a little bit. If you know that like they're like a leftist who's like like they hate these ideas, then I'd say probably don't tell them about it. But if you mean like a regular guy who's like relatively receptive to this kind of stuff, like I don't know, I think generally just kind of show them how the state is evil, show them how the state's inefficient, point to all the bad things the state does, dissuade them of the notion that like this is capitalism doing this. Like, I don't know. That's getting clipped. Well, make sure to send that clip around. I think that's a very great clip. Jeej, indeed. Big Asian cock is the best one. That might be a contradiction in terms. I'm sorry. I'm sure there's a couple of BACs out there. All right, a lot of productive conversation though. We even had a very interesting question about retribution. So I think, yeah, a lot of good stuff going on. I'll go through these one more time to make sure I didn't miss anything, though. Trying to change a regular guy might be too high of an opportunity cost. Just send them Anarcho Econ's videos. Yeah, just send them my videos. But in all seriousness, though, the amount of work it takes to convince, you know, uninitiated people of this kind of stuff, it's just unending. I mean, it's really just unending, which is why I think, you know, if we're talking about real life, I'd probably just leave it be. Um, if you talk to people about libertarianism, most of them generally got introduced to these ideas by finding them on their own on the internet. Most people, most libertarians generally, like, they found out about libertarianism through some YouTube channel, and they got farther and farther into the space and whatnot. And but like it wasn't like some guy came up to them on the street and like told them about anarcho-capitalism, you know. But it's hard to do that because it just takes so much time because the state has pretty much given people so many concerns about this kind of thing that they just have like 1,000 questions to ask, and you just don't have enough I don't know, you don't have enough time to really give them all of these explanations. Point out some contradictions or economic illiteracy from time to time. Yeah, I think that's a good way of doing it. Just kind of point them in the right direction and hope that they find the right stuff. Because if they are genuinely receptive, then you can point them in the right direction and they'll probably do the rest of the work for you. Are you afraid of death since you don't believe in religion? Does the prospect of eternal oblivion unsettle you? I mean, it's pretty unsettling, I guess, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm really scared of death. Now, I mean, certainly if you pointed a gun to my head, I'd be pretty scared. I'd probably piss my pants. But like in general, just contemplating on it, I'm not really scared of death as much as I'm, happy about life. I want to I want to enjoy life and I want to flourish, and yeah, that's what I want to do, and I don't want to let death prevent me from doing that. Do you have an image of Ayn Rand in a frame above your bed? Well, I have Opar. Well, currently not right next to my bed, but it was a little bit earlier ago, a little while ago. So that's pretty close because there is a picture of Ayn Rand on the cover. And you'd be changing just one guy. Meanwhile, Anarcho Econ's videos, Zula's videos, etc., can reach thousands. I'm glad you think so, and also, indeed, right? It's like instead of I think instead of doing this on like a person by person basis, if you have someone who's genuinely receptive, you know, point them towards the right direction and let that's why I think it's important to have these videos that like answer all these questions because that's what I think my main thing on YouTube has been, right? Like that's pretty much what it's been. It's been answering questions that people might have. Like my videos are very much directed at like my last one, like what will it be an oligarchy? Like my last one before that, what is capitalism? Labor theory of value, intellectual price. Like it's answering questions really, um, on like a pretty consistent um and in-depth level, but not to the extent that people can't understand it. So my goal is to be the guy that you can kind of point at to resolve problems, like to resolve any things you don't understand about ANCAP or objectivism, hopefully in the future. I'm learning more about objectivism right now, so I don't think I'm quite qualified to really get into the objectivism, but I also in some point of the in some oh my god, some point in time, I want to be the person you can point at to be like, hey, so you have this confusion of ANCAP, um, go watch this video, and this'll like, and I want to have like a video on like every confusion people could have about philosophy and anarcho-capitalism. Like I want people to be able to point at my channel and be like, your answer is somewhere here. No Anarchicon. You shouldn't say you piss your pants. You have to have aura. You should say you disarm them with CQ. Yeah, actually, I would. I would I'd bring out my martial arts. Actually, you know what I would do? No martial arts. I would yield the power of the non-aggression principle, and the non-aggression principle would erect a force field around me, um, and like bend the bullet out of the way. So that's what actually would happen in real life. So I'm not scared of that at all. Have I watched a Scary Movie? No, I actually haven't. A lot of people seem to be pretty into that, but I haven't watched Scary Movie. Um, yeah, maybe I should watch it though. A lot of people like it. Yeah, any more questions you guys have though? Keep sending them my way. Very good stuff. I am the NAP wizard. I'm the NAP wizard that every time a communist says like, "What if something bad happened?" Um, well, I actually resolve that because I'm the NAP wizard, and if you ever try to violate the NAP, then I'll put up a force field. Do I play gotcha games? I do not play gotcha games. They seem fine to me, but it's not really my thing. Um, Scary Movie 6 is so fucking bad. Well, I won't be watching Scary Movie 6 then. Harry N. A. Harry N. A. Potter. Every anti-objectivist argument debunked. The sequel to MRH. Yeah, that would be cool. I'm not in the position to you know, make that video yet, but hopefully I can be at some point. Do I think I'll run out of video ideas? I hope not. It seems to me that anarcho-capitalism is a rich philosophy. Objectivism is an incredibly rich philosophy. Not to mention that there's tons of you know, dramas and people trying to debunk us and whatnot that gets brought up. So I think there's a lot of videos that can be made. Now, sometimes it's a little bit challenging to think of the specific video that I want to make at a specific point in time, but I do think that there's enough things to talk about that I don't think I'll really run out of stuff. What are your thoughts on estoppel? To me, it looks like someone's failure to reason is overriding the universal natural right to your body property, very subjectivist. You haven't been convinced of estoppel. Well, the overall argument for estoppel is essentially that if you commit some aggression, you'd be dialogically stopped from objecting to that same thing being done to you. And what does this mean to be dialogically stopped? It means that, dialogically means like in an argument, dialectically in a dialect, in an argument, you'd be stopped, meaning you'd find yourself in a contradiction if you tried to propose such a thing. So, since it's a contradiction, if you try to propose it, it can't be true, because contradictions aren't true. And from that, we established that this person could not object to the same, sort of retribution being done against them. They can't object to it. If they proposed an objection to it, they would be stopped. Like they would find themselves in contradiction. So that's why it's not actually a violation of the NAP to go and uh attack them essentially to get your retribution. So it's not a subjectivist thing. It's a legal argument. Um, I was gonna ask you if you read Legal Foundations of a Free Society, but it sounds like you did. I haven't read the whole thing, but I definitely know like about Kinsella's articles, Zulu's uh what's it Zulu's um contributions to that kind of thing. So as far isn't that a pretty long book though? Yeah, I haven't actually read the whole book, but I do like I know the theory. I should read. Maybe I should read it at some point. Hello Selfish. Also hello Nostalgic Sky. How's it going? Just doing a Q&A stream here, so if you have any questions, feel free to ask them, send them my way. Also, I don't know if you sent a message before, but hello Thaumatarge. Um or Thaumatarge. It's 800 pages of good stuff. Yeah, that is a very large time commitment. I do not doubt at all that's very good, but yeah, I haven't read that. That's a very very long book. Um we could say the opportunity cost is not worth it in my opinion when I think there's a lot shorter um explanations of estoppel essentially. And of Kinsella's idea that you have to like presuppose ownership. So ownership, you have to have ownership essentially. Have I watched Scream 1 and 2? If you haven't, you should watch them before Scary Movie. Yeah, is Scary Movies like a parody of those things, right? Hello, Caden Dono Hugh. How's it going? Um, yeah, how's it going? Oh yeah, I didn't even answer. I have not actually watched Scream 1 and 2. I like movies, but I don't watch very many of them. I like them when I watch them, but I just don't watch that many. Axiom of self-ownership, a person either is owned by himself or by others. Chet Vernon VA. Well, I don't think he can be owned by others. I think this is just Rothbard's argumentum e contrario that essentially I think it establishes self-ownership, that self-ownership must be the case. We must have self-ownership. So, yeah, I don't think you can have ownership by others. I don't think you can have like a actual slave in terms of like owning the person. I think you could have like a voluntary labor contract, but not like an actual slave. Um, okay, we have two more comments here. Newest thoughts on the Shardy. I I don't I don't know. Donald Trump or Bill Clinton, who do you like more? Um, I don't know, probably Trump. I'm not a big fan of Trump, but I don't know. I'll just say Trump for now. I don't have like a large commitment to either of them, so if you told me that like Clinton actually did this really based thing that I didn't know about, maybe I'd like him more. Um, let's get this out of the way. Would you steal a penny to stop the aliens from blowing up the Earth? Yes, you should, but do you think you would? Yeah, I probably would, but should I? No, I should not. No. This isn't like the Dave Smith argument of like, oh, I would just accept punishment later. But I mean, I think if you really put yourself in that kind of situation, I can't tell you what I would do, right? If I saw like, would you steal the ladder to like save your mom? Like if I saw my mom burning in a building, like I don't know if I don't think I'd be strong enough to not abrogate my principles. Hopefully I would be. Yeah, truly. I truly hope I would be, but I don't know, right? It's so, but I mean, if I saw like the entirety of humanity, being attacked with a laser, I don't think I'd be strong enough. I hope I would be. I hope I would be, but I mean, it's just, I mean, I don't know. It's very hard to say. Like you're being like tortured for multiple days, and like you have no food. Like, would you steal a thing of bread or something like that? It's like I don't think I should. I hope I wouldn't. But maybe I would abrogate my principles, and to the extent I did that, that was unjust, and someone should go punish me for that. But Um, yeah, unfortunately, I can't stop myself because at that point it's like you. Well, I could stop myself. My point is, at that point you're like an animal beast, right? You're not even like acting as a man. You're more just you know, you're acting as like an animal beast who's foregone all reason at that point. Um, do you know Dreamy Bowl slash Ambu Chakum? Well, I know who Dreamy Bowl is, so funny that he's being brought up in this chat. Um, I like the view of property as a process/relationship between people in regards to a thing, as opposed to a relationship between a person and a thing. Well, yeah, I mean, property only exists insofar as you have multiple people, really. I mean, I think it's meaningless if there's only one person, because then you can't get into conflicts. Then property is a conflict avoiding norm. What's your current top priority as far as libertarian reading? I want to get through um more Hoppe and Rothbard. I've read some of their stuff, but I want to get through like the majority of it. So that's like also I want to read more objectivism. I don't know if you count that as libertarian reading, but I've done OPAR, but I want to read like maybe ITOE or Introduction to Objectivist Epistemology. That might you might say that falls out of the scope of libertarianism, which would be perfectly valid if you said that. I don't think you could find anyone who wouldn't give you the penny knowing the circumstances. I've heard that argument, but I don't know. I think there are some evil people. Um, Yeah, realistically, humanity's days are already counted if aliens could just threaten the entire planet if you don't steal Penny, indeed. Any argument that presupposes give up your principles or die has failed to create a situation in which it is actually unprincipled to give up principles. Death is the end of ethics. Indeed, there is no ethics for dead people. Um, don't reify the zero. Voluntary slaves is basically the same as grounded flying. It's an inherent contradiction. Indeed. Um, that quote. Oh, sorry. Did you send a quote? Um, oh, it's okay. Axiom of self-ownership. Oh, guys. Um, that quote is essentially a society can be built around slavery or freedom. Chet Verman, developed kind of libertarian like rights theory that defies. Okay, yeah, I mean, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, if we're not talking in a literal legal sense, then yeah, I mean, anything other than the non-aggression principles entailing some sort of kind of slavery normally, some sort of institutionalized slavery, like taxation is certainly a form of slavery. Um, What do you think about whereof one cannot speak, thereof one must be silent? Um, well, I mean, if you truly have nothing to say on a topic, then I don't think it's a good idea if you're just making shit up. But, I don't know. Um, NTP5 says, "Oh, sorry, I didn't mean say you should." I'm not exactly sure what you're responding to there. What's your thoughts on game theory since you're getting clout? Evo Cap will be in chat soon, and he loves game theory. Games theory seems to be, I don't know, not very, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's kind of useful for analyzing some interactions, but I mean, certainly it's not like a refutation of ANCAP. Um, it's pretty much, maybe it's just useful for analyzing some sort of, you know, what's it called? Market interactions and whatnot, but I don't think it's really that useful in general. Um, yeah, exactly, selfish. I think there might be some insane people and whatnot. What do I think about transgenderism? I don't really care that much. I mean, it's just, you know, some people, I'm not a scientist, but it seems to me that there is a genuine, disorder called transgenderism, and, if those people want to get transitioned, then, I think that's very good if they do that, because they're just integrating that into their identity sooner. Now, there is, a lot of people who transition, but they don't seem to actually have that disorder, and that's very bad. I'm very against that, but, um, yeah, I've seen Evo Capitalist before. He's a weird guy. I mean, I'll just say that. I don't really. He's a weird guy. Um, I like this revival of libertarian YouTube. The next era, after the era of Menta Zulu, Anglo-Libertarian, and Practice Springtime of Nations. Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, I think it seems like Zulu certainly is continuing, so we don't have a new era with respect to him. But yeah, I mean, maybe even we get Anglo-Libertarian back. That'd be cool. Praxben's still pretty, and Mentis are still pretty active, so it's cool. Anarcho-econ. Why are you called econ when you do philosophy? Libertarian debunked. Yeah, exactly. I should excuse me, completely shut up about economics. I have nothing to say there because I'm actually called, or actually completely shut up about philosophy. The non-aggression principle is outside of my scope because it's a philosophical position. Um, because I'm called econ, so you know I'm completely debunked. He's pretty much a lolcow. Fair enough. This new era seems to be Rothbardian and objectivist. Yeah, definitely. Was responding to the penny question, and I accidentally wrote "you should steal." Oh, I didn't even see that. I understood what you're trying to say. Thoughts on Christian ANCAPs? Well, I think what Christian ANCAPs are what you get when you don't realize that um you know law is a subset of ethics essentially, right? Law is not all of ethics, and so when you kind of start with anarcho-capitalism and you don't really build up any coherent philosophical theory before that, and you kind of tack on, whatever else you believe on and try to integrate them together, I think that's kind of what you get. And I don't think it's internally contradictory, but I do think you have to recognize that, like, if we're actually being rational, you can't use God to justify the non-aggression principle. Christian ANCAPs, you mean market socialists. Well, there you go. What would you do with the central bank's national currency and government debt? There are many ways to deal with that libertarians argue for. For example, some say government debt should not be paid. A lot of government debt is, I mean, kind of just like debt from one state to another. And in that case, I think it's all illegitimate. And essentially just all the taxation that's been stolen, completely return that. All the central banks, completely, they should relinquish their control. National currency, completely abolish it and let the free market find some sort of standard for money and make their own notes and whatnot. Government debt is the hardest thing though, because it's like, I mean, if we're being honest, we're probably never going to completely pay everyone back. I mean, it's technically possible, but the amount of I don't know, accounting you would have to do would be completely insane. But yeah, I mean, um, Zulu just had a 53K likes post. Well, wow, that's kind of crazy. What was it even about? Anarcho Econ. Why are you called anarcho-econ, but you don't promote anarchy equals chaos, which everyone knows is true? Exactly. I believe anarcho-capitalism fits very well with Christianity, in particular with my belief, LSD, Mormonism, even though this might be controversial. I think you, like, again, like I said, like, you can fit anarcho-capitalism with, another theory of ethics, but I don't think it's really, it might not be internally contradictory. Like, you could just say, like, God says the NAP is true, and that could be your proof of the NAP. And we would have to consult outside philosophy and arguments to prove that that's incorrect, that God did not say the NAP is true. But um, it is like internally consistent. There isn't actually a contradiction between ANCAP and God, so you can establish that. I just don't think it's the correct method. Do I have my own Discord? Yeah, yeah, soon maybe. Um, Gr Gay GoyTube banned my comment, and I'll post it here. What do you think about getting libertarianism right? Yeah, I mean, I think it's good. It's pretty short, but it's good. Um, I think Hoppe is generally right that if you actually want a successful libertarian society, you have to be pretty low time preference. But yeah. Um, yeah, there are many Christian ANCAPs. Again, it is possible to be a Christian ANCAP without contradicting yourself. But I mean, maybe does anyone know actually? Do any of the Ten Commandments? I don't know them off the top of my head. I know a few of them, but do any of the Ten Commandments contradict the non-aggression principle? If so, I don't think you can be a Christian ANCAP. But if they don't, then I think you can. Um, how do you think you did on the Ask ANCAP episode? I think I did pretty well. I was pretty happy with my responses. I realized I watched it back, and I realized on one question I was talking about the economic calculation problem, and I said something along the lines of like, how would the state know what to produce? And that was a misslip on my hand, which is really annoying because I meant to say, how would the state know how to produce it? Which is the difference between the economic calculation problem and the knowledge problem. And thankfully, Zulu came in and kind of elucidated um the economic calculation problem correctly. But I essentially slipped up and said how d how would they know what to produce instead of how would they know how to produce it. Um, it was about Sneeko doing bullshit. Unfortunately, nothing related to libertarianism. Oh, I think I saw that tweet when it only had a couple likes. Um, Christianity and Judaism, Islam are legal subjectivist philosophies. God is still a subject. I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that, but they are pretty much just nonsense philosophies. Why are you a communist? Oh, I just I thought Marx was pretty convincing. Um, you don't think God said the NAP is true? I believe it's the most realistic, natural, and closest form to humanity's existence in God. It is why God gave us the free will. Well, yeah, I mean, I guess that's, how most Christians would kind of say that. Now, I don't know, really how you have free will in an all-powerful God, but I don't think we need to, go into that here. I don't need to debate you, and I do, like I said, I think you can be a Christian ANCAP, and I'm glad you don't just say God said the NAP is true, because that's very rudimentary. Um, are you planning a sort of course on Austrian economics? Well, I want to do a video at some point. I haven't created anything for it, but at some point, I want to do a video on, like, the Austrian method of economics, which is Hoppe's book. I actually haven't read it yet. Obviously, I know what he has to say mostly, but I haven't actually read the book. Um, but I want to do a video on that. Um, since I'm in Mentis Wave's basement, does he have a trans wife as rumored? Yes, he does actually. He has two trans wives actually. One is actually a man. So expanding on your thoughts on religion, what's your personal views on religion, and do you think religion is a net positive or negative for society? I think religion's a net negative, and I'm anti-religion. No, I don't really, I don't like hate religion. I think it has some virtues. A lot of Christianity has some good ideas, but fundamentally, I'm anti-religion, and that comes from my objectivism. So yeah, there you go. Now that's specifically because I think religion is the ultimate primacy of consciousness viewpoint, and that's a stolen concept fallacy, so it can't be the case. And so it must be that existence came first, and if you have some god, that god must be within the realm of existence, and then it seems to me that it would be no god at all. It'd just be like a really powerful alien who can like use a laser beam to like make the ocean move and stuff like that, instead of like an actual god that's like the god of the sea or something. Sneeko looking at his camera repeatedly. Oh yeah, that's what it was. Yep. What other ethical positions do you hold outside of the NAP/libertarian ethics? In terms of ethics, I mostly agree with Ayn Rand that you should be selfish and you should treat life as the standard of value, and you should ask, before you do something, ask like, what does this do for me, instead of what does this do for other people? Will you be doing live debates? I don't know. I'm not opposed to it. I'm not really in favor of it. I'm not much of a debater myself. I more like more longer form videos, but I could. People should have known better before lending money to mafia called state. All state debt is not to be repaid. Um, yeah, I mean, if you donated to the state, then certainly. But if you were stolen from, then yeah, a different kind of thing. Thou shalt not take the Lord of the name and take the name of thy Lord God in vain. Um, the Lord thy God in vain. Wow, I read that very wrong. Maybe if it's taken as illegal. Yeah, I mean, it depends on specifically what that means. So yeah, hard to say. Um, None of the Ten Commandments contradict the NAP. Well, we have a Christian ANCAP right here, who seems to think it doesn't contradict the NAP. So I'll take that as correct. That yeah, it doesn't contradict the NAP. What do you think about Toma Piketty book? That one that talks a lot about inequality. I don't know exactly what book you're referencing. What libertarian books have you read? I've read, Hoppe and Rothbard, stuff like Theory of Socialism and Capitalism, Economics, Ethics of Private Property, Anatomy of the State, Ethics of Liberty, stuff like that. Um, okay. Um, yeah, also, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wives or his slaves. It could be. It could be seen as an endorsement of slavery. I'm not sure. I'm fine with Christian ANFAP for religious people to adopt some secular idea, they must yield some of their radical ideals. Yeah, probably. What books do I suggest? I mean, I wish I had more radical book presentations, but mostly just the stuff I said I read. And also, read Opar. Definitely read Opar. It is one of the most amazing books I've ever read in my life. It's just such a great book. So read Opar. Um, what are your thoughts on falafel? I think they're pretty good. Sometimes I've had some pretty dry falafels in the past, though, so I'm not a big fan of those. But if it's a good one, it's good. What is your opinion of intellectual property? It's certainly not legitimate property. I have a 30-minute video on that if you are more interested. I asked on Ask ANCAP channel, but do you think the first ANCAP sin will come to be realized on land, sea, air, or space? Probably land. I think certainly. Rapid change could happen quickly, and I think we could take over as the philosophy of the day if we keep, as Zulu says, winning the philosophical debates. So I think probably land. I don't think we need to have some sort of sea colony or a space colony to um enact ANCAP. Um, what's your response to the free rider problem? You've already addressed this between honest and trader and haven't watched a single one of your videos. Not a single one. Well, essentially, what I say to the free rider problem. Did I address this in any of my videos? Um, hmm. I feel like I have. Wait, actually, I why do I feel like I have so much? Hold on, I'm just uh curious for a second for my own, because I like do I have it in okay, maybe I don't. Well, generally what I say to the free rider problem is like, let's say you have this is often how it's like presented is like, oh, you have two insurance companies, and this is obviously a specific application of the free rider problem, but it shows how you would solve it in general. Is you have like, let's say you have two insurance companies, and they want to insure in a similar area, and these insurance companies, they provide defense. So one insurance company is providing defense for the entire area. What do? Right? Because the other insurance company, they're the defense firm is essentially defending the exact same properties, and they're not paying for it. So clearly, this other insurance company can be a free rider, and they're going to outcompete the initial one. Well, how do we solve this? Well, I mean, first of all, it's obviously neglecting the fact that they can come to an agreement. Well, the first insurance company can say, "Hey, well, I'm gonna run out of money soon. You're outcompeting me so quickly." And then once you take over, you're gonna have the exact same problem I had. You're gonna have to pay for defense. So how about we just split it 50-50 or 60-40 or something like that? The second thing is, maybe the first insurance company does go out of business, in which case, well, that there's insurance is the defense is the utmost priority for these firms. So the second insurance company, they're going to have to hire a new defense agency if the first one goes out of business. So there's still defense. Then the third one comes in, then they can split the bill again, or the other two are going to go out of business, or maybe one insurance company is paying for 60% of the defense or 90% of the defense. Maybe one guy gets fucked over and the other doesn't. But the fundamental thing is it will get done because there's a massive incentive for people to do it. Now, does this mean that it's going to be equally distributed price wise? No, but it does mean that you're going to have this task get done because people want it to be done. And if someone does go out of business, then I mean, unfortunate, but then someone else can come in and do the job they were doing before. So that's pretty much my answer. Um, yep, Half Hippo said, OPAR is objectivism, the philosophy of Ayn Rand. Um, was libertarianism ANCAP intuitive for you, or were you convinced of it? I think it's relatively intuitive, but I was convinced. It's like I didn't just intuit every argument. I did need to hear like the actual understanding of it instead of you know, yeah. Um, Mon and Leibowitz recently discussed how many young objectivists still view selfishness as an internal imposition rather than internal motivation. If it's not too personal, can you speak for this? Yeah, I'm personally um trying in my everyday thinking to ask myself, like, what does this do for me? Like, why should I do this, right? Because it's not that you should just be selfish because Ayn Rand said so. You should be selfish if you because you have to, right? If you want to treat life as the standard of value, you have to be selfish. And I've been convinced that I should do that. And so I'm starting to ask you, what does this do for me? Instead of looking at it like what is this action doing for someone else? I think we should all be doing that, right? Every time you do something, think, what does it do for me, right? Like, what do I gain for this? Why should I be sacrificing when I don't have to be, right? Don't sacrifice. Don't sacrifice for anyone. And the most rational way is like, oh, what if someone's in a bad scenario? Well, it's like, well, hope that they don't sacrifice for anyone either, right? Don't ask for handouts and don't sacrifice. So don't expect to be sacrificed for and don't sacrifice yourself. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much my take on that. Um, yeah, you should definitely touch the nonfiction to just get a more concise treatise on the ideas, but obviously the fiction's good too. All right, peace out, creditor. Um, selling insurance while free riding another business if you don't actually provide the service, you could still be considered fraud. Um, I don't think so necessarily. I don't know. Mm, excuse me. It's like I don't think an insurance company is necessarily providing defense. I think it's just the case that they would often want to be providing defense because it's in their incentive to do so. But um, I don't think that's part of their business operations really necessarily. It often would be. Good thing I've always been a bit selfish. Yeah, that's good. Very good. All right, we have a couple more questions. If ANCAP aliens came to you and asked for you to help punish the statist humanity for NAP violations, would you join them or stay on the side of humans? Um, I mean, if punishing the state of society means enacting the corresponding retribution and liberating people, then yeah, I mean, I think that would be good. Should women have the right to vote if it was necessary for us to have a democracy? I would say generally the people who are most rational should have the right to vote. So some women are rational and some women are very irrational. And if they are rational, if we have to have a democracy, then I'll say that they should have the right to vote. But if they're irrational and we have to have a democracy, then they shouldn't have the quote unquote right to vote. Um, what state are you? Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, I am not going to answer this for the sake of anonymity. Nothing against your question though. Does it violate the NEP to kill Syrians, or do they not count? Um, well, I think Syrians are still people, so it would be a violation of the NEP. Do you do kind things per se, holding the door open for someone behind you, as an objectivist? Yes, certainly. Um, other people can be of value to you. Um, it doesn't necessarily have to mean that you're forsaking everyone else and living as a hermit, right? Society can be a value. People liking you is certainly a value to me, or people liking me is a value to me. So I think it's definitely selfish to hold the door open for people often. Now, should you hold the door open for someone you hate who makes fun of you and stuff? No, of course not, right? Because it's not good for you. But in general, it's very good for you to be holding the door open for people because they you know, they're a value to you having them in your life. So, or walking the grandma across the street. It's like you can do this selfishly, It doesn't have to be sacrifice. So you can certainly have these small communal service acts, not even service. A person you'll never see again. Yeah, I mean, yeah, certainly. I think just generally um how would you say it? Like I think that the term for this is like you're almost like preserving rationality. So if you see it like this, it's like let's just take a more like kind of reductio case. Like you have a person in danger, but like they're a very good person, right? A very good rational person, excuse me, person who's very productive in society and they can be very useful. I don't think it's selfish to go in and save them, even if you're risking your life. Because they're of value to you. So when you do that, you're preserving rationality for your own gain. And so if we extend this kind of idea on a smaller level, we can kind of see that you're if you have like a good person, presumably a good person, even if you'll never see them again, if you're helping them, it's not necessarily that you're sacrificing for them, but it's that you're almost like rewarding rationality. You're saying, yeah, hey, you're a good person. I'll help you out and open this door for you. Now, I mean, if they're a bad person, then don't do that. But, generally speaking, if you live in a good society, I'll assume most people are pretty good people. So selfishness, interdependence. Yeah, I mean, it's more like, rational. I think Ayn Rand's term is rational egoism. So it's like egoism, thinking about yourself, but being rational. So it means, it means while you're an egoist, you apply life as the standard of value, and you recognize that for it to do that, you must use your reason, and you must you must keep your faculties of reason in operation. So it doesn't mean being a whim worshiper. Selfishness in the objectivist sense is not self-serving at everyone's expense, but a rational self-interest. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think it's certainly like rational to hold the door open for someone, if you suspect that that person might like you more in the future, or if you suspect that that's a good person and you want them to have a good day, like someone having a nice day, if they're a good person, that can certainly be a value to you. So yeah, I mean it's more about preserving rationality, rewarding rationality, and enforcing that kind of thing. It's like you're a good guy, so I'll help you out. Mm, yeah, these are all good. These are really good questions, though. Would you drink cockroach milk and eat the bugs? I don't know. Probably, probably not. Would you? Would you drink cockroach milk and eat the bugs? What meaning do you give to the word rationality? So I think rationality is essentially using your consciousness to identify things, in a non-contradictory way. So essentially using logic and applying your consciousness specifically to the task of understanding reality as it is. So you can evade and use your consciousness to disintegrate concepts and to obscure your faculty of, perceiving reality. Um, or you can use it to try to perceive reality and try to identify things contradictorily, and you know, um, identify existence as the primary and whatnot. I think that's pretty much what rationality is pointing at. It's like pointing at the logical and existence oriented um way of using your consciousness. Um, what are your thoughts on mutual aid in the commons? The commons as per Eleanor Ostrom, not the commons as per open access to rivalrous resources. If you just mean the commons as in like not exactly sure what the person you cited said, but the commons as in like, a space where people can get together that's privately owned, I think that's fine. Like I suspect a lot of ANCAP societies would likely have free privately owned parks because the Covenant community owner would they would be incentivized to have these parks in nice areas, so people would be attracted to the society because and maybe there would be pay to entrance parks, maybe there would be, but I'm just saying I have a hunch and I wouldn't be opposed to having free access parks that are still privately owned. That's solely just used to incentivize people to come in. In terms of mutual aid, I think mutual aid is great if it's in a rational and productive society. So I think if you have like a really a good group of people that can be really productive and some horrible tragedy strikes them, like there's an earthquake or something like that, there's not really any way you can get around that. I think it's very good if we have a means of lifting them back up so they can go be productive again. Don't knock it till you try it. True. In the Austrian economic sense of being rational, simply using, yeah, I mean, I think Ayn Rand is using rationality different. Um, Even if someone is doing something dumb, they're still being rational in that sense. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely different, you know, understandings of the term. Eleanor Ostrom's describes commons as effectively a joint stock operation over resources. It's entirely exclusionary and private, but it's a type of group property. Well, it's certainly not group property, but it can be communal access, and that's fine. Yeah, the park can bring people into the covenant and or stores around it. So yeah, I think that's all good. Also, roads that are used to incentivize tourism, bring businesses, etc. Yeah, certainly. Like, I don't think that just because everything's privately owned, it would necessarily like would there be sidewalks? Almost certainly, but would you have to pay like $1 every time you walked on the sidewalks? I really doubt it, right? That sounds pretty miserable, and it sounds like no one would want to live in that covenant. Mm, so yeah, yeah, definitely it's okay to have that kind of thing as long as you're not misidentifying it as some sort of collective property right. Right, that's where the problem comes in when people misidentify communal use as collective property. It's not that everyone owns it. It's just that everyone can use it. Like we can't conflate use with ownership. Similarly, we can't conflate having a vote over the use of something with owning it, right? So if I have like a vote in how I use this park, that doesn't mean I own this park. That's complete nonsense. Because obviously the sum of the votes can contradict my vote, my individual vote, which is clearly demonstrates that I'm not actually owning this thing, not directing it how I want. Um, it's not being used how I want it to be used, which is, yeah. But yeah, a lot of good conversations. Nice that we're talking about some objectivism. We're talking about some covenant community stuff, some ethics, some goofy stuff, all across the spectrum, which is very nice. Better said, it is decided who gets to use what and how with the commons as per Eleanor. It is decided who gets to use what. I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that. Do you mean it's like democratically decided, or there's a private owner deciding who gets to use what? If that's the case, then that's very good, right? We should have private owners deciding these things. By the members of the commons. So I think that seems like kind of odd. I don't know. Doesn't seem like a good idea to me, and it doesn't seem like any of them actually own it. Seems like some sort of um quote unquote public property wherein no one actually owns these. Speaking of objectivism, I just had 6 Ayn Rand books arrive and I'm now going offline to read them. See you around. Well, have fun. That sounds very fun. Yeah, so have fun with that. Contradictions regular people hold. Oh yeah, I was wondering what you're saying. Yeah, regular people have a lot of contradictory beliefs. Is contractually decided among the members of the commons. I mean, for a contract, though, you need some sort of ownership first and foremost. You need to have a transfer of ownership. And so if no one owns it, I don't see how you can have, you know, any contracts involving it. Yeah, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you can have like a title transfer of property without any property. Um, I think generally though, the idea that this Eleanor person's trying to get at is oh, it's decent. It's like but I think we need to get rid of this idea of things being democratically ran. Like we don't want that. We don't want the park. It shouldn't be democratically ran, right? Why should some homeless guy get any decision over how this park is ran? I think that's complete nonsense. I think there should be there's a fixed owner, and that owner is the person who gets to decide. And if they want to use the park, if they want to charge people money to go in the park, or if they want to kick out homeless people, then I think that's all perfectly fine. It basically is. She was demonstrating how it worked historically, and for instance, Swiss Alps, it's very different to communism. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't sound like you're describing communism. It sounds like you're trying to describe some sort of, like rights respecting system. It just seems like there might be some sort of, group property stuff going on, which obviously I'm not a fan of, but yeah, it's okay. You can't, there was a lot of group property notions from, way back and whatnot. Thank you for answering my question. Cheers. Yeah, of course. Yeah, if you have any more questions, feel free to answer them. I mean, ask them. I'll do the answering. Unless you want to answer any questions, you can also answer questions. It's pretty much a free-for-all. We are the number one collective property haters, indeed. I'm also wondering, I don't know if you guys would want, it seems like the conversation's winding down a little bit. We've answered a lot of great questions. Would you want to do a quick reaction to like a communist video or something like that? That seems like it could be a good idea. Is it Ale Anarcho Econ or Ale Econ? I'll let you choose. Um, whichever you like. I think Ale Econ sounds a little bit better. Um, would voting for anything but a purely libertarian party be aggression? Um, no, I don't think so. I think it depends on specifically, what your claim with your vote is almost. It's like, you can vote for something. It doesn't mean you necessarily endorse everything. For example, if you have the lesser of two evils, then, that's kind of a situation where it's like, your vote for one of the lesser of two evils might not be an endorsement of the all of the evil that will still be done. It's essentially saying, I want this because it's less aggression. But a vote can be aggression though. That can be. So your vote could be seen as an endorsement, like a Zoran Mamdani voter. They're endorsing seizing of private property. So I will elaborate once there is some kind of chat server. I personally was astonished that not enough people know about both Eleanor and Vincent Ostroms. Well, yeah, certainly do that if you want. That sounds perfect. That sounds great. Have you ever heard about the channel Unlearning Economics? I don't think he is a communist, but definitely a leftist. Yeah, I have heard about that channel. Let's see what he has. Um, all right. What was it? Unlearning Economics. Oops. Um, well, he's just making a bunch of members only videos. Why is the whole economy just a coffee shop? Yeah, late stage capitalism. Um, mug capitalism created. Um, I'm sure you're so good. These videos are a little too long to react to. but I'm sure it's pretty horrible. Um, in my country, voting is both a right and a duty, meaning you will go to prison if you don't vote. Yeah, that's completely ridiculous. I'm sorry about that. Um, I remember a video he made on Thomas Sowell. Yeah, here it is right up here. Right down here. Somewhere? Where was the Thomas? Oh, here. Yeah, apparently it's 3 hours. This guy just makes, it seems to me that he's just making complete, like, rambling nonsense videos. Like, there's no way you have 3 hours of content to say about Thomas Sowell, and it's not a stream. I think it's gotta be just, what's it called? A Gish Gallop. It's gotta be a Gish Gallop. Unlearn Econ video about basic economics by Thomas Sowell starts with equivocating scarcity. The classic big ass video you can't react to channel. Yeah, exactly. It's like I feel like if you can't compress your ideas, I mean some topics you truly can't, but like if you're just talking about like a single finite thing, like yo, oh Thomas Sowell is wrong. You don't need 3 hours, man. Like you really don't. Now there are some topics that require a lot of time, but not this. I was thinking about reacting to the same guy that we did before, but on a different video. I think I was thinking maybe this video could be good. The sheep in the box. He debunks Thomas Sowell while completely misunderstanding scarcity. In what way does he misunderstand scarcity? There's no such thing as a good billionaire. Why every billionaire is evil. No exceptions. Casually explained billionaires. Let me guess, this guy's a complete communist. Why billionaires should be illegal. Completely illegal. Uh-oh. Should we abolish billionaires? I fucking hate this guy. Um, yeah, they should relearn economics. Were you guys interested in any of these videos? Or, recommend a video if you're interested in one. Try to make it maybe 20, 25 minutes long or so. Do I have a good Bernie Sanders impression? Unfortunately not. I won't even give it to you. It's not good at all. Um, yeah, if you guys are interested in any of these, I'll let you choose. There's a lot of complete crap here. It's all just complete just nonsense. So, uh titles are disgusting and immoral, and I completely agreed. Um, but what do you guys think? Are any of these appealing? I don't need to watch the Robert Reich video, but I'd use Canadian healthcare before watching most of these videos. That's a pretty bad indictment. Um, why billionaires shouldn't exist, and no one is saying it like this. I'm sure no one else is saying. I just can't find anyone else who would be willing to say such a brave message. Um, understand scarcity as in things that are rare instead of not unlimited. Yeah, that's definitely incorrect. Um, do a more perfect union video. What is a more perfect union? I can already tell it's horrible. Oh my god, I don't want all these like front fundraiser videos, bro. Um, yeah, what are there any of these videos that you were interested in? Um, Mr. Sus? Yeah, it is a leftist flop. It you can just tell like read this crap.
Emmy-winning nonprofit newsroom whose mission is to build power for working people. Here's what that means. We report in real struggles and challenges of working class from a working class perspective. We attempt to connect these problems to potential solutions. We report on the abuses and wrongdoings of corporate power, and we seek to hold accountability to ultra-rich who have too much power in America's political. Like, it's just complete claptrap. Um, can't remember a damn video that would be great to look at. Hold on, let me find it. Peace out 308. Remember to use ad block when watching leftist videos in order to not give them a single dime. I wish I had an ad block. I really need to get one. I'm so lazy. We found radical solutions that could end corporate monopolies. Let's see. Um, hmm. Yeah, most corporate anti-corporate shit I've ever seen. Um, Libertarianism is the communism of the bourgeois. Oh yeah, that. How long is that video again? Let's see. Um, yeah, it's a little bit too long for me right now. On Chrome, it's gonna be tough. Oh, damn. It's annoying. Um, I don't know. You know, maybe I won't respond to a video right now. We're very unstructured right now. But I think I'll be able to again pretty soon, hopefully, while I watch another video. I'll try to, I think what I'll do is I'll try to find, a better one, come with more of like an actual plan instead of just, watching whatever the fuck. Yeah, Natty Bud Light, like, you said, is fucking insane. I don't know. He's crazy, man. He's crazy. I don't know how he's getting the stuff he believes or where he's finding it from, but it is just completely nonsense. Get Firefox, it's way better. Really, you think so? I've always found that Chrome was like faster for me. But maybe Firefox is better. Using Zen currently. Hmm. Yeah, I've just been used to the Chrome interface since like I got on the internet initially. So it's like yeah, that's essentially why I've always used it. Why? I don't know what that means, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think do any of you guys have any more questions? I think I feel like we've done enough already, and you know maybe it's better to keep it focused to just a Q&A. Um, I think there's tons of questions, and that's great. Yeah, I think we answered a lot of them. Gave my opinions and whatnot, and so I think I accomplished the goal here. So I mean, if anyone else has any more questions, I'll answer them. But I think I'll start wrapping up. Um, you had to watch it through Gemini because you didn't want to watch the damn thing. Brave is nice and comes with ad block and other good features. You'll use it. Hmm. I mean, are all of these free though? Oh, what if Altist? Okay. Would I rather be an anti-Semite or a philo-Semite? I don't know what a philo-Semite is, but I don't know. Yeah, tell me what a philo-Semite is, and I'll tell you. When do you plan to make a Discord or Root or Fluxor server? Maybe I'll make a Discord server later today. I don't know. Yeah, maybe I'll go ahead and do that. Yeah, okay, they're all free. That's great. Yeah, maybe I'll make a Discord server later. That might be cool. Oh, okay. All right. Hate Jews or love Jews? I don't know. I think probably love Jews. I think there's a lot of Murray Rothbard and Ayn Rand are both Jews, so it'd be pretty inconsistent of me to hate them. Um, what's your response to foreign nations buying out local resources like water? Well, nations shouldn't be able to buy anything because it's funded by taxes. But if it's just like if it's a private firm, I don't care. But yeah, I mean, nations certainly shouldn't be able to do that, and you're gonna have problems with this because then they're centrally planning the water supply, which is very bad. So yeah, we don't want central planning with respect to anything, but certainly not with respect to resources like water and oil, which is currently how they're planned right now. Often, yeah, but they weren't practicing Jews; they're just ethnically Jew. Yeah, I mean, it depends on how you mean anti-Semite. If you mean the actual religion and whatnot, but I mean, if you mean I'd probably rather hate the religion than like the religion. Maybe I don't know. But if we're talking about Jews as essentially just the ethnicity, then I think they seem to be pretty damn good to me. Yeah. All right, so I think what I'm gonna do is wrap up, but I'll make it. I'll try my best to make a Discord server later today, and what I'll do is I'll post the link on like Twitter or something like that, or somewhere, or maybe you know what I'll do is I'll post the link under this stream. Yeah, that's what I'll do. And so all of you guys who are here and seem to be interested right now, you can go join that. Um, and yeah, that's what we'll do. And of course, I'll try to get some other people in there. I doubt there'll be that many people. Of course, I have a relatively small channel, and that's perfectly fine. But I think we'll have a couple people and maybe some chats and whatnot. And I'm very open to suggestions. So if any of you guys have like oh, we should have a channel for this, I'll probably be able to open that up. So yeah, I think that's yeah, that's really about it though. Does that sound good to all you guys? One last call for any more Q&A questions, and I'm gonna sign off. I had a great time though. We had a lot of great questions. So thank you everyone for showing up. We had a lot of viewers too. I didn't know how many viewers we were gonna have because this was like just strictly excuse me, strictly just questions to me. It wasn't like a reaction or anything. So opinion on the borders debate. What do you think of Hoppe's statement about public property not being owned by the government but the public allowing it to be used for exclusion of Yeah, I don't think the people can own any property. I think that's nonsense. I don't think you can have a greater right to exclude people like Hoppe says, like, oh, the taxpayers pay into this, so they have like, a greater property right than the immigrants. I think that's meaningless. Um, yeah, I think I'd definitely do a video suggestions channel. And oh yeah, Mr. Draco, I'm sorry you did come in late. Do you have any questions though? I don't have to sign off right this second, so if you have a question you'd like to ask, feel free. Um, yeah, okay, just to sum that up though. Oh, you just asked your question. I didn't even realize that was from you. Well, yeah, Mr. Draco, my answer is I do disagree with Hoppe, so I'm an open borders libertarian. Um, yeah, I think I'll do a video suggestion to react to, and maybe also a video suggestions to make. Like if you guys want to send me ideas of videos you think I should make. But anyways, all right, peace out, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. I had a great time. And Discord server, if you're interested, will be in the link to this, and probably the link under future videos. Videos in the future. I'll try to advertise it a little bit and get people in there if they're interested. Um, so yeah. All right, peace out, everyone. Bye bye. Oh, okay. What other venues do you think other aspiring anti-app content should focus on to getting into instead of other spheres of influence? Um, I think, media analysis, a lot of people really like that stuff. So, maybe inject some libertarianism into like a media analysis or like analysis